All right, so let's start off with and avoid saying your name. Okay, for this video, we're gonna say John Doe. What are your years of service?
My years of service is September 2020
Yep,
to
2020.
to 2022.
Okay, 2022. So we got about 2 years of service. During that 2 years, did you ever deploy anywhere?
No, sir, no deployments.
Were you a part of like a training exercise in the Middle East or any other country like that?
No.
All right. Um, and do you have a current intent to file date ready to go?
I don't have an intent. Well, maybe I do, but I do have a higher level review in right now.
Okay, so the HR is good, and we're definitely going to talk about that, but we definitely want to establish an ITF. Okay, you can
Okay.
do that online. It's super easy. Go to va.gov. Once you start the claim, it'll go ahead and establish that intent to file date for today. I would recommend you get that done today.
Okay.
And as far as your dependents, have you claimed those? Do you have dependents? What does that look like for you?
No dependents, just me.
None. Yep. Okay. Good. So all we need to do is make sure we get that intent to file date. Let's start with what you are service connected for. Just go by the numbers. What are you service connected for, and the percentages of each.
All right. The first one is hope I say this right. Pityriasis versicolor with I'm just gonna say the short version, PFB,
Okay.
the student for Lauticus barbae.
Barbe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I'm rated for both of those skin conditions at 60% together.
60. Okay.
And then I have bilateral pes planus, flat feet.
Yep.
I'm at 30%.
Okay.
Insomnia, also at 30%.
Okay.
Tinnitus at 10%.
Mm-hmm.
Right wrist, Guyon canal schwannoma, something with the wrist. My wrist cracks all the time. That's at 10%.
Okay.
Right wrist carpal tunnel, 10%.
Okay.
And then migraines at 0%.
All right.
Allergic rhinitis also at 0.
Okay. Is that all of your service connected disabilities?
Yes, that's all the
All right.
service connected ones.
And let's go ahead and start listing out some denials.
All right, so my first denial is mid-low back condition, strain.
Okay. Yep.
That's denied.
Okay.
ED, also denied.
All right.
Fatigue, denied. Left knee condition, strain, denied.
Okay.
Impacted cerumen, left ear, denied. Adjustment disorder. Good morning.
That's my daughter. Yeah.
Good morning. Adjustment disorder with mixed anxiety and depressed mood, denied.
Okay.
And shin splints bilateral, denied.
All right. And is
Like
that all
said,
your denials?
yes, that's all the denials.
Okay, let me just double check here. Let's do some math. I'm gonna go to Hill and Taunton's calculator real quick and just put these in. So we got 60%, and we got a bilateral 30. We have insomnia at 30, tinnitus at 10, right wrist at 10, and right wrist again at 10 for the carpal tunnel.
Yes.
All right, so I have you at 86%. Well, 87, sorry, at 90%. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, 87%, rounded to 90. So before we even get into the meat and potatoes of this, off the bat, we know we're 87%. We have a very low bilateral factor, and it's actually just going to be roped in with this claim here, meaning it's only going to be worth it if we can push you to 95, which would be rounded to 100, right? So that's a long way of me saying there's a big jump, right? I'm not saying it's not possible, but that's going to come into consideration as to, hey, do we just gather more evidence, or do we submit these claims? How this is going to work is we're going to look at increases first. Then we're going to talk about secondaries for all these conditions. Then we'll talk about denials. That's when it gets a little difficult. And then there's no presumptives according to your deployment history. And then after that, we will go ahead and talk about any new conditions that you could file based off your service. So with increases, looking at the pseudo barbe, not recommended to change that at all. That's going to be a skin condition rated at 60%. That's a very high rating for that. That's a solid rating.
Right.
No need to touch. Okay.
Yeah, I thought about that too. Don't want to touch that.
The bilateral pes planus, when you look at 50%, you're looking at it's pronounced, right? Which is just very severe. It's very obvious that you have flat feet. That can be looked at via x-rays. And so my question for your flat feet is, what does that look like for you? Do you have pronounced flat feet? And is there medical evidence saying you have pronounced flat feet?
Yes, I have flat feet. They labeled it as severe. The last claim that I didn't see my CMP examic notes.
Okay.
But I did get an increase because originally I was 10% for flat feet, but now they raised me to 30.
So you just recently got an increase?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I just recently got an increase. I do have prescribed soles from like a prosthetics group, so that helped me out a lot, and to give me that 30. I was reaching for 50, but
okay. No worries on there. So at the bottom we have recommendations. That's going to be the game plan.
Okay.
I'm going to add another category to this one. It's going to be called talk to primary care, which is extremely important. But what I want you to do, if you have it, okay, because right now we kind of don't know, but if you have it, I want you to speak to your primary care about flat feet. And if they are pronounced, okay, if they are pronounced, that's a pretty easy increase, especially when you have medical evidence showing the pronounced flat feet. All right. So we'll kind of put that in our back pocket. It doesn't seem like it because you just had a CMP exam, but as with all CMP examiners, you could have just gotten a poor CMP examiner, right?
Right.
Insomnia, that's going to come into play when we talk about this adjustment disorder. So I want to save that because I want to see the reason for denial on the adjustment disorder. Tinnitus is maxed out at 10. We know that. Right wrist is generally rated at 10% or 0%. There are higher ratings, but it's very difficult to get that. And with carpal tunnel, I think it's a solid rating, right? I'm not going to recommend any change there. Migraines, that's a big one.
Right.
Talk to me about your migraines. When were they service connected? And what are your current symptoms?
So I was rated at 0% for, well, at first it was headaches, and then they changed it to migraines kind of close to last year. It's pretty much the same thing. I was connected for that right after active duty. So I had that ever since I got out in 2022. Yes, I have migraines at least twice a week, and I have to, lay down, turn the lights off, stuff like that. It's hard for me to go to sleep already at night. So that kind of coincides with my migraines. I do not have a migraine log. I guess I should start making one.
Yeah.
But I do have prescriptions for.
You have prescriptions. Okay.
Yes.
What medication are we talking about?
Ooh, let me try to find it.
Is it called sumatriptan? The most likely medication is probably sumatriptan. I want to know the dosage, right? Is it 50 milligrams, 100 milligrams? What are we talking about here? I got Coco Melon on in the background, jamming. Ooh. I didn't mean to make this gentleman get up. You good?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you. You good?
Oh, okay. I didn't know it went off. Sorry about that.
Oh, all
But
right.
yes,
Yes,
I do have sumatriptan. I just looked.
sumatriptan. Okay.
Yes, I do.
What is the dosage? Is it 50 milligrams? Is it 100? Is it more?
25.
25. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have sumatriptan. We don't have a migraine log. Okay.
Mhm.
What I want you to do, this isn't going to be a twofer. I can tell you right now, we're going to do an increase on this.
Mhm.
But in the background, because medical evidence is king, what I want you to do is speak to primary care about frequency, how often you have your migraines,
Okay.
frequency of migraines, and the need for medication. Okay.
Okay.
When you talk about frequency of migraines, I want you to turn in that migraine log to your primary care. Just say, hey, I have a running list of when I have a severe migraine, right? It's totally okay for you to talk about like a small headache, So like myself, I'll get a headache and I'll take Tylenol and go about my day. That's much different than a migraine. Okay. So it's okay to differentiate those two, but be sure to talk about the frequency of your actual migraines that are severe, especially when you take medication. Okay.
Okay.
We're kind of building that medical evidence to show the foundation of saying, hey, I do have migraines. They are severe. I'm taking my medication. Here's when I take it. My question to you is, how long have you been on medication?
The first time I was prescribed sumatriptan was, oh, that's the field date. When was the first time?
If was it a while ago?
Yes, it was a while ago. I'm in the
Okay.
VA website. I'm
Have
trying to see when they
That's
originally
fine.
filled it.
It's fine. It's fine. Have you been getting refills since then?
Yes, I have.
Okay. All right. So that kind of negates the frequency because your medication refills shows how often you take the medication. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Right.
that
So it's
makes
kind of
sense.
hard medical evidence of saying, hey, I've
Mhm.
used 50 pills. That's 50 migraines right there.
Right, right.
So with the migraine increase, okay, what we're going to want to do is first off, fill out a personal statement, 4138. All right, I'm going
Mhm.
to link that form for you. Let me just go ahead and do that. In that statement, you're going to want to outline it. The outline is going to be the frequency of migraines, how often you get them. That's going to be on a weekly basis.
Right.
When you take medication, when you've refilled medication, okay,
Mhm.
and then current complaints to primary care. That's
Okay.
the increase. Now, I'm going to be very straight with you, okay? It is for some reason, and it's the ambiguity in
Mhm.
the how migraines are rated at the VA is it's an overwhelming majority of migraine ratings come back at 0%, and then veterans are forced to do supplementals and higher level reviews. Okay.
Okay.
Which does suck, but you have the evidence. I want you to outline that evidence in a statement. So that way it's just kind of, thank you. It's just kind of there for the rater. Okay.
Okay.
So that way, if that comes back at 0, immediate higher level review. Okay.
Okay.
If 0%, HLR with informal conference, and be prepared to talk um, about your evidence, right? And that's going to be outlined in a personal statement, and you can let them know that. Because
Okay.
the CMP, she's really getting it right now. The
Oh
CMP
yes, she's a.
examiner is going to, detail your symptoms, and your the VA can't ignore evidence, and you have that, right? So your evidence is going to be
Right.
your saving grace here. All right, that's migraines. talk to me about your rhinitis. When was that connected? What's your current symptoms? Are you on medication for it?
That was connected right after I got off active duty as well at 0. Let's see, because I've had I get sinus infections at least 2-3 times a year.
Okay.
So I have medications for that. Let me look up and see where that's at. I have a nasal spray called fluticasone.
Is that prescription? Is that prescribed?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And that is
So
a nasal spray, and then I also take where is that? A lot of this stuff is for allergies, but I just can't pronounce it.
it's fine.
Olopatadine.
Yeah, I'm gonna put allergy medication. Okay. By chance, do you have antibiotics that you're taking for any sinuses?
I think I took antibiotics one time. Let me see if I can find it in here.
It's okay. It's okay. If that's the case, in service, did you ever complain about your sinuses at all?
Yes, I did. And
Okay.
I also had COVID one time during service as well.
You had to go. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, this is enough to at least file the claim. Okay. I would like a current, and I'm talking about sinusitis right now. We'll get back to rhinitis. I would like a diagnosis with that. Okay. But for me, it seems like you have the in-service events. You have some kind of current treatment for sinusitis. That is, for me, it's that basis enough to do a new condition direct. Okay. Now on the back end, speak to primary care about sinusitis. What you really want, the diagnosis. That would certainly help your case. And if that's denied due to no diagnosis, you have the medical evidence to back that up. Okay.
So, quick question.
Yeah.
So the sinusitis, would you secondary that to the allergic rhinitis or a whole new?
Well, so that's a big question we get is it direct or is it secondary? And the answer is it doesn't matter. The VA is going to look at both avenues. Okay. They're also going to look at Terra, right? And so you don't really prompt them to do that. That's the VA's duty to assist. It seems like you have the in-service event. Now, obviously, I'm not looking at your medical records right now from service. But if you have stuff about rhinitis in there, you probably have stuff about sinusitis in there based on what you said. For me, that's enough for the in-service event, especially to submit the claim. And then in the background, we're going to get the sinusitis diagnosis, right? Or a current complaint of that sinusitis that would lead the examiner to give a diagnosis for VA rating benefit purposes. Now, the VA is going to look at secondary connection anyway, so don't sweat that. All right. Sinusitis is gonna be a new condition direct. Now back to your rhinitis. You take medication. It's at 0%. Okay, that's gonna be an increase. You have the evidence there as well. So this one likely comes back at 0% or 10%. So it's not like a huge deal. Okay. It matters to you because at 10%, everything, or I'm sorry, at 87%, every single 10% matters. Right, so we're definitely going to increase this. Is the last time you claimed this when you got out of service?
I think I filed for an increase on it one time after service. So around, I think in 2023 last year.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to recommend another personal statement. All right. 4138. And that outline is going to be prescription medication, how often you take medication, and symptoms of rhinitis. There we go. Be prepared to do an HLR with the informal conference for this as well if it comes back at 0%.
Okay.
Informal conference. Now, ideally, when you speak to your primary care about sinusitis, it's going to spark all this to come to play. And they're going to look at polyps. You might get a CT scan. That would be wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Okay.
Yeah. But we can go ahead and get those roles get those wheels rolling on the claim side of the house, and in the background, start generating that evidence. That is increases. We kind of talked about one secondary with rhinitis. Let's talk about secondaries. The skin, we're not going to touch secondaries with that, okay? Flat feet, and I know it's, everyone says knees and back could be secondary to flat feet. That's a very, very hard argument to make. We're going to come back to the back when we talk about your denial. But let's talk about your knees. How are your knees?
Yeah, they crack all the time. I try stretching and stuff like that. I got pain medication for those.
You do have pain medication and physical therapy, okay?
Yep, I'm in PT right now. I actually have an appointment next week. So I'm trying to keep that up as well. And I even brought up to my PT specialist, that I have a little bit of sciatica, like my sciatic nerve starts to hurt as well. So some of the bad thing for me is like my primary care physician is actually on deployment right now. So it's kind of hard to get in touch with them, but I can still contact my team.
Yeah.
Through the VA, so.
Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at your denial. We're going to swap to denials and look at your left knee really quick. Let me go ahead and find it. There's shin splints, adjustments. I'm looking at your decision letters right now. Let's look at your knee. Your left knee. You didn't claim your right knee?
No. Wish I did. Maybe on my next round, I'll do that. I guess it's like a bilateral knees.
It depends. Mm-hmm. Let me just see. Let me look for this decision letter for your knees real quick. Because the reason for denial on your knee is going to come into play here.
Okay.
Okay, here it is. It is all the way at the bottom. All right, left knee. So for everyone watching, I'm looking at his decision letter. I don't want to show it because there's a lot of PII associated with this. And so to negate that, we're just not going to show you the decision letters. But what I see here is your service treatment records do reflect complaints. Okay, that is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Or a diagnosis that is similar to that what's claimed. So on December 2nd of 21, you complained about knee pain. There's no continuity of symptoms. Okay.
Okay.
It doesn't say anything about a current diagnosis. Let me see if I skip that. Okay, here we go. I'm going to read this verbatim so you can understand this. It says, for the claimant's claimed condition of left knee arthritis, there is no diagnosis because there are no findings, signs, or symptoms of a diagnosis. Okay. So we claim left knee arthritis. You had the in-service event. You're missing a current diagnosis.
Okay.
And then obviously the Nexus. Okay. You are in treatment for your knees right now. Is it specifically your left knee or is it both?
Both.
Both. Okay.
And then at the same time, that's when I also bring up my sciatic nerve and like my back and stuff like that.
Yeah. We'll cross that bridge when we get to the lower back.
Okay.
I am going to recommend, right, you do a right knee strain. That's going to be new condition direct. Okay. And then your left knee strain is with arthritis. It'll just say left knee. That's going to be a supplemental appeal. I spelled that right. Supplemental claim. I want you to use evidence of current diagnosis and treatment plan as new and relevant evidence. What I'm hoping for, and it seems like it's the case, and again, I'm kind of speculating because I'm only looking at your decision letter, but you're only missing the current diagnosis. You have the in-service complaints. The examiner was focused on arthritis, but the knee strain was in there. I'm curious as to what your C&P exam results look like for that knee. But regardless, the rationale of the examiner was a current diagnosis. You have that now. You have a treatment plan. You have that continuity. It's only been, your complaint was December. What's up?
Okay.
Looking at your other denials, left ear adjustment disorder. That's going to be a huge one.
Yeah, I think I made a mistake of trying to either what's it called, pyramiding, of claiming
Um,
that on top of insomnia, because I mean I already have insomnia, which is already a mental health claim.
yeah, no, so it wasn't pyramiding is it's common, it's very misunderstood, right? So the VA
Mhm.
rates symptoms versus the diagnosis. So you're correct. The insomnia, anxiety, depression would be pyramiding, and
Mhm.
you would receive one rating for that. But making that claim isn't a bad idea, especially if it's going to increase your rating. Now, the issue with this one, and let me pull up the decision letter for your mental health denial. Okay. This one has insomnia, carpal tunnel.
And the adjustment disorder, that was a diagnosis that I got from a VA mental health professional
Yeah, I
when I
want to
was speaking with them.
see. Um, I want to check out the reason for denial before I. Okay, here we go. I just found it. So, adjustment disorder, missing anxiety has been denied. Let's scroll down, look at this letter here, which is right here. Okay. So, service connection, blah, 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 blah. Your service treatment records do not contain complaints or treatments. Okay. So, you're missing the in service event. The veteran meets clinical criteria for adjustment disorder. So, you have been diagnosed with anxiety, with mixed anxiety and depression.
Mhm.
But the nexus given is less likely than not. Okay. A grant, secondary, whatever. Favorable findings, insomnia. Okay. So here is my question to you because you have insomnia rated. It looks like a simple increase. Personally, that's what I see, and I'm saying that without looking at your evidence. Okay.
Okay.
So let's talk about insomnia real quick. So if you aren't sleeping for an extended period of time, those symptoms are only going to get worse, right? Like your irritability, being irritable, cranky, having anxiety, maybe hypertension could develop, right? Tons of things that can happen. So how long have you had insomnia for?
I've been dealing with insomnia since I've been in. That was active duty. I made sure to get a sleep study, in which I did. I do not have sleep apnea, but I have all that documented with sleep apnea and not sleep apnea, with insomnia and snoring.
Insomnia.
Yeah, and it takes me a long time to fall asleep and um, waking up in the middle of the night and stuff like that. So thankfully, I was already service connected for that when I came out.
What are your
Um,
symptoms that stem off of your insomnia? Like, I want you to think of anxiety and depression, right? So, you not
mhm.
sleeping, are you irritable?
Yes.
Um, or are you socially distant from family members, from friends, whatever that looks like? Do you have depressive episodes um, based on your insomnia? Do you have panic attacks, right? Because you're tired, or what? Very quickly, just explain what your insomnia looks like right now.
Uh, Waking up early, super early, not falling back to sleep, whether it be like 5, 6 in the morning, and just not going back to sleep. Uh, Waking up, yes, I am irritable. Um, I do have medications for it, and then at the same time, I just feel tired. Like I feel tired in the morning. Like I said, I'm not getting
Of
enough
course,
sleep.
of course.
So all of those combined, and then yes, I do. Go to the house and stuff like that, and I just want to lay down or don't want to be around anybody. And sometimes I try to to keep that separate from my family because I don't want that to kind of trickle over to them. But you know, I have those episodes where I just want to be by myself
Yeah.
and not do anything.
What about your work life? Does your inability to get rest affect your work life?
Yes, a little bit. I'm currently unemployed, but the last job that I did work, I couldn't work. I went to work the morning like 7 in the morning, and I just had a massive headache. And I talked to my supervisor. He was like, well, "Okay, well, just take the day off and come back tomorrow." So I had to leave work um, that day. I wasn't even there for an hour, and I was already hurting. Um,
Okay. Is that one instant? I mean, how many instances are we like that are could you arguably say that you cannot hold employment based off of your insomnia?
I can hold employment with insomnia. I'll say. I just make sure to stay on a decent schedule, a sleep schedule, and stuff like that, and not try to stay up late because I try to go to bed around the same time. Um, but I don't think I left that job because of other personal reasons. It wasn't because of the insomnia.
Yeah.
So I'll say it for that. But like I said, I did have to leave because one time I just had a massive headache in between.
Okay. I'm still going to so this one I'm not really too confident on the
Mm,
increase for insomnia, to be honest with you.
mm,
Um, I am going to recommend an increase though. You're on medication. Your 30%, I believe, is somewhat safe.
mm,
Um, I'm definitely going to recommend insomnia. Now, there's a video I want you to watch, and it's going to be on 70% symptoms for mental health as a rating criteria is right now.
mm,
Um, and it explains the symptoms that someone with 70% would experience, right? Someone
mm.
at 50% has the same symptoms, just less severe. So it still applies to 50%. And I'm saying this without looking at your evidence. Based on the conversation we just had,
Mhm.
I think it's pretty likely you can be increased for this, at least at 50%. Okay. Um,
Okay.
So we're definitely going to file the increase there, and I'll kind of bold and underline that for you. Um,
Yeah,
and I,
an increase on the mental health would be huge.
yeah, no. So mental health is known as like what I call a crutch claim sometimes because
Mm,
you get 50% or 70% for mental health, it really acts as a crutch for the rest of your disability rating, right?
right.
Starting at that 50 or 70 is a lot better. Now you mentioned the migraine thing, and we already covered that, but that's something that I would include in that personal statement.
Okay.
And let's talk about shin splints right now. Let me go to your decision letter for shin splints and see exactly what was going on for shin splints. It's not that one. It's not that one. How are your shin splints right now? Do you currently deal with shin splints?
Yes. Uh, Thankfully, I do have the prosthetics and stuff that they gave me for like the insoles of my shoes. Those help a little bit, but like still, when I'm up around throughout the day or going upstairs, uh, numerous flights of stairs throughout the day, I mean, I get shin splints. My like it feels like my legs are always tight. Like my shins are always tight muscles. You know,
Mm-hmm.
a massage is good. I try to use a massage gun to try to like loosen them up and stuff like that. But yeah, it's my shins are pretty tight. Um, and that's definitely something that's gotten worse over the year.
Okay, so this one is gonna suck. I'm just gonna be real with you.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at your decision letter and your denial for shin splints, I'm gonna read this verbatim. It says you submitted lay evidence that your claim disability is related to events or treatment in service. We have determined that the service treatment records and post-service evidence contradict your statements of a connection between your service and your claim condition, which is shin splints,
Mm-hmm.
and find the other evidence more credible when considered in light of all evidence. Meaning there's competing evidence and you're going to have to get over that hurdle. That's pretty much what the VA is saying.
Okay.
Um, frequent repetitive, yep, got it. Damage worse. A nexus has not been established. So it says A thorough review of medical literature failed to demonstrate a causal relationship. All right. Okay, so you tried to go secondary to your flat feet. That's the nexus that can't be established. And it says a thorough review of medical literature failed to demonstrate a causal relationship, which means there's probably correlation, it's not causation, which sucks. And generally speaking, when you have on a secondary condition, when you have a current diagnosis and there is correlation of that current diagnosis being correlated / caused by the primary condition, which this feet is, in this instance, is flat feet, that's generally where you start finding yourself in nexus letter territory and IMO territory. Now, I am going to be very honest with you. I 100% do not recommend a IMO for shin splints, right? Shin splints are generally 10%. Generally, they could be 0%. And I personally do not think the medical opinion from Dr. Rashna Patel or any other physician that you see is going to really be worth the squeeze, right? Now, in the event that you're 94%, that changes the argument a little bit, but you are 87%. There's no way I can, in good conscience, recommend getting a Nexus for something that's so little, right?
Right.
We're still going to keep that in our back pocket just in case this 87 becomes a 94. Then all of a sudden it matters. But based on what we have right now, which is migraines, your sinusitis, your rhinitis, the knees, and the insomnia increase, you could very well be at 100%. Okay, you could be. And so let's look at some math real quick, and we'll just kind of do a down and dirty Hill and Ponton calculator. So you are 60% for skin. We have bilateral plus planus. We're just going to put 30%. Ignore the bilateral there. Tinnitus, right wrist, right carpal tunnel, both at 10. We have migraines at 0 and rhinitis at 0. And that puts you, did I miss one? Insomnia at 30. Insomnia at 30. There we go. 86. And we have the bilateral that's pushing you to 87, okay, from your flat feet. Meaning 50 would bring you to 93. A 70 would bring you to 100. Let's take a look at this, right? Let's say your insomnia comes back at 50%. That puts you at 89. Let's say your migraines come back at 30%, will be modest. So insomnia at 50, migraines at 30, that puts you at 93%. Remember, there's a bilateral factor there, so really you're at 94, which means you only need 10% more. Looking at all your other claims, we have sinusitis, right knee strain, left knee strain. Any of those at 10%, because you are at 94, not 93, any of those at 10% is going to push you to 100. Okay? That's a very long way of me saying I 100% do not recommend getting a Nexus letter whatsoever. I think your claims are going to get you there on their own.
Okay.
With the understanding of migraines and insomnia. That's your really two crutch claims there. The insomnia increase and your migraines. Now, I put migraines at 30%. Based on our conversation, it indicates 50. I'm just going to lowball it for planning purposes. Obviously, if you're at 50% for, I'll show you real quick. You're at 50% for insomnia and 50% for migraines. That's 100% right there. None of the other claims matter, right? So I do think that you are definitely capable of being 100% given your migraine claim and your insomnia claim. Those are most important. The left knee supplemental claim, I would definitely get the evidence, get the current diagnosis and submit that supplemental. The right knee would be a new condition. Rhinitis and sinusitis. The rhinitis increase should be pretty simple. You do take prescriptions, okay? I want to know what your polyps look like personally. And then your sinusitis, if diagnosed, definitely submit that. As far as these recommendations, do you have any questions whatsoever?
No, sir. I don't have any questions. The one takeaway that I will say is that it seems like the migraines and the insomnia will be the biggest factors in trying to get to that 100.
It is
I
because
think,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
and I think that's all good. I think if I replace that 30% with a 70% insomnia or mental health in general, I think it bumps me up to 95.
Yeah, let's
Uh,
go ahead and
uh,
take a look. So
I think
this is
insomnia alone.
your insomnia and migraines at 50 puts you at 100.
Hmm.
Your insomnia at 30, your insomnia at 70 will put you at 100 on its own, right?
Right.
But again, if insomnia is at 50 and migraines at 30, it's actually 94 because the bilateral is not there.
Hmm.
You could easily get that 10% with sinusitis or the rhinitis claim, right? And so, although migraines and insomnia are your crutch claims, I don't want you to discount all the other ones, right? So I would
Right.
absolutely submit all of these claims given you get the evidence. And that's kind of how if I was in your position, that's how I would tackle your claims.
Okay. That sounds good.
Are you using a VSO or do you plan on submitting by yourself? What does that look like?
Uh, I haven't used a VSO. The first time I filed my claims, I went through a DAV member, DAV, on
Mm-hmm.
base, and alone when she submitted all my claims, I came out with 80% out of active
Okay.
duty with 80%. So that 30% increase from my flat feet pushed me to that 90, um, which was a very easy score because I mean when I went to my CNP exam, when I filed my claims, the lady, I mean she diagnosed me with flat feet on the spot. Um, which helped me out so I could file that. But going forward, I can submit it myself unless I just really need the extra help of a VSO.
Yeah.
I don't see any wrong in that. I think that would be helpful as well. So I'll
Okay.
probably be more leaning towards that side since they can get a little bit more, evidence and a little bit more dirty work.
Oh yeah. So I would. Here's my two recommendations. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Either submit it yourself. That's totally fine, especially if you feel confident submitting it online. Or you gather your evidence and have a VSO submit that claim. That's fine too. There's a third
Okay.
option where you submit it yourself. You still talk with the VSO. I'm going to assume you still have a DAV power of attorney, and that organization will be able to kind of look behind the curtain if you need it, right?
Right.
Depends on how busy they are, but they can look at CMP exam results, whatever that case is. If it's just really driving you crazy to know the information beforehand, but
Mm-hmm.
I definitely wouldn't sweat it. Other than that, we know how you're submitting the claim. Any questions on any of this, or is there something that we didn't cover that you want to talk about?
We pretty much covered everything. I would just say, I guess I need to get a little bit more evidence as far as migraines. That would really help my case.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Okay,
Yeah. So
but
complaints to your primary care, prescribed medication, refilling that prescription, having a migraine log, sharing that with your primary care, all those roped into your statement, and then your statement referring to your evidence. That's most important. If you can do that,
okay.
I think your migraine claim is pretty solid. You have the service connection, which is the hard part. Now it's just
Mm,
the increase. That's the easy part, and we're going to rely on evidence to push that claim through.
okay. I know you probably have a different uh, feeling towards this, but would you recommend maybe like not a third party? I don't want to go down that road, but like I guess, an outside help for like these kind of claims or increases?
Are you asking for like a DBQ provider, or are you asking for like a claims consulting company?
Yeah, maybe more towards like a DBQ to kind of help with uh, the claims and stuff like that.
Yeah, so In your situation, I would not recommend any of that at all. This is me personally. Okay. I wouldn't recommend that. Is it wrong if you did it? Absolutely not. Right. I would recommend whoever you get to do the DBQ knows what they're talking about. Right.
Right.
And so, for instance, if you wanted Dr. Rashna Patel to do a DBQ for migraines, she's a physician. She can do that. Right.
Okay.
If you wanted to go that route, you absolutely can, but by no means would I think in your situation with your evidence, you can absolutely get to 100% without any medical opinions or private DBQs, which means you have to rely on that CMP examiner. That part sucks. But your saving grace, yeah, let's be real. Your saving grace is going to be evidence, right?
Okay.
So even if the DBQ for migraines comes back unfavorable, meaning it's confirmed and continue at 0%. That's what the HLR with the informal conference is, because a lot of migraine claims come back at 0%, although the veteran has the evidence. So definitely get the evidence. Migraine is that crutch claim in your situation. And so whatever time you spend getting the evidence is absolutely going to be worth it.
Okay, thanks. Because I also use the VA app for secure messaging and stuff too. And I remember watching a video about that. And
that's a great way to communicate. Yeah,
that helps a lot. So, well, okay. I don't have anything else. That's it. I mean,
that's it. I definitely hope I helped you.
Oh, for sure.
My email will be available to you, and that's about it, man. Thanks for your time. I definitely appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Clay. I really appreciate you, man. And you're doing a good thing for us and everybody else. So we really appreciate you, and just keep it up.
All right. Thank you, man.
All right. Thank